strictly because the diet is so difficult to get on, and so that's why he's doing a lot of research on these supplements because he sees the benefits in the keto diet.
Yeah.
But because of how strict it is and how difficult it is to stay on, trying to help people get in that state without doing that. So.
I got you. Yeah, because I remember like the crew was trying to run like keto or something similar, but it's like, yeah, soccer and football are a little bit different with the energy systems. So
yeah, and it's there's a whole lot of research out there, and it's being in the state. There's benefits for it, and to be able to use ketones for energy, if there's benefits for it, in order to get in that state, your
right.
and your energy is just gonna take so much of a toll that it's almost it's a lot of give and take.
Yeah. Did you have many classes with Dr. Volek outside of like the guest lectures that he did?
I did. I wish I did.
Yeah.
Did you?
I had quite a few lectures that he gave with like mostly like the exercise physiology because like him and Dr. Marish were friends, all down there in the lab together. So he would come and like did like a couple lectures for like 3 of the different classes that I was in. So
nice.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you remember Alex Buga. He was like, so I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no. You were in the nutrition for performance class when I was in it at the same time, right?
No, not the same
time. Okay. Yeah. He was in that class with me. And then he does a lot of research with Dr. Volek. I think he's even doing grad school at OSU through that. So.
Do you have a trainer at the RFA?
I think you're thinking of Janice.
Okay.
Yeah. Alex Buga used to go to the RPAC, but
gotcha.
you've probably seen him around. But yeah, he was funny. He was really smart too. Good at the like dietetic side. But yeah, man, I already have it recording because I felt like that was a good conversation.
There we go.
Like I said, you're someone that I can always have good conversations with. So.
No doubt, man. Well, I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate you having me on and just we've been playing this out for a minute. So
I know. Finally got you, and it lined up. Shoot, do you have any like questions? Or are you good to go if we just start doing the intro and get into it?
Honestly, like you said, as long as there's anything you need to know, like I'm cool with just.
Nah, it'll be good.
Sounds good, man.
Alrighty, let's do it. I'm on episode 24. I always like sometimes like in the middle of it, I'll be like, shit, what episode am I on? All right, I'm about to do it. What is up, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of the Trainer Scoop podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping individuals passionate about fitness in life and lifting. With me today, I have Craig Conley. Greg, you want to say what's up to the people real quick?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
So, depending on whether I roll the conversation we had before this or not, you may or may not hear that Craig and I have been planning this out for a long time, and I'm really excited to bring this conversation to you because, one, I think we like converse very well together, and then it's always like high level stuff. Like I feel like it's I'm always learning something from you, and like you can match my knowledge, which like I'm not even saying that I have a lot of knowledge, but it's always cool when you talk to someone else who's passionate about the same things as you. So just getting into it, Craig, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself, how you came to be in some of the positions you are today?
Yeah, dude. I really appreciate it. Once again, you thinking of me and having me on this podcast. It was a minute that we took to get it going. But yeah, like David said, we go back all the way to undergrad at OSU. I think I met you freshman or sophomore year. And since then, we've definitely had either serious conversations that were high level or just casual conversations that eventually turned into something very like mind-blowing and intellectual. So it was fun.
Currently, and I want to say we met because we both used to go to the gym so early, which it was like 5:30 when our gym opened on campus, the RPAC. And yeah, I was trying to think like some of the regulars, but definitely Craig was one of the regulars. There was like a squad of old guys and like a couple other other younger people. But
sure, I could always count on David. And there was times where I would wake up and that alarm would ring and be like, I do not want to go. And I think about David there. Like, I can't let him down. I gotta get
right.
so
That's
it
funny.
was definitely a motivating factor. But like I said, we went through OSU. Got my undergrad in dietetics, specifically focused on performance nutrition, and worked with the Ohio State sports nutrition team all 4 years of my college undergrad career. So with that, I started out as a volunteer with the program and eventually became president of the team, and got to work with football, basketball, swimming, track, you name it. It was being at Ohio State, one of the biggest athletic programs in the country, getting to work with literally NFL caliber pro athletes was an amazing experience, and just kind of propelled me into different opportunities, different networking opportunities as well.
Yeah. Real quick, Craig, before you go on, do you want to drop any tips? Like, let's say you're a senior in high school or a freshman in college and you want to get involved in volunteering like that and kind of like build your way up. What were some of the things that you did, or any of the tips that you could offer to get involved?
Yes, sir. I heard this quote my freshman year coming onto campus. I was involved with a group in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And so we were going through this mentorship program, and one of my mentors told me, closed mouths never get fed. And I was like, what the heck does that mean? And he broke it down to me, and he started saying, like, if you never ask, you could be the most qualified, most knowledgeable person in the room. But if you never ask the question or initiate the conversation for an opportunity, it's probably not going to happen, right? And so I took that to heart. And, with every opportunity that I wanted at Ohio State, or that I wanted coming here in Pittsburgh or anything, I got my name out there. I sent emails with a chance of getting a no, but at the very least, I made that connection, possibly learned something from that interaction that I didn't know before. So really just not being afraid to get told no, because if you get told no, you're just in the same spot you were before. There's nothing, like, you didn't digress. It's just, you've
Definitely.
learned something along the way. So.
Yeah, and I can echo that as well. When I was in my freshman course, it was like the careers in dietetics. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you see like Sean Foley coming to talk, who
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he still is, but he was the dietitian for the football team.
Yeah, he moved on. Now they have another person, but he was there for a while.
Yeah. And so like right when he came to do that presentation, I tried to like reach out, be like, hey, is there any way I can help out? And of course it was like at the end of the year almost, so it didn't really work out. And I kept emailing. The only time I think they could have had me on was like during the summer in between freshman and sophomore year, and I was staying at home that summer. But yeah, it's like, it's important to put yourself in the position to kind of like reap those benefits of volunteering. And like you said, it kind of like slingshotted you into a whole new network. So don't be afraid to hear no, and just try it. Like, definitely some good advice there, man.
Literally, it's something where if you not only don't be afraid to say no, but if you get that yes, don't be afraid to like just be in a position of learning. Like, a lot of people, once they go and volunteer, like, all right, I want to take this leadership role. I want to, be really hands-on with whatever. And that's hopefully will come for anyone, for me, for you. But at first, if you're just sitting and helping clean stuff and you're in an environment where you can learn, like, take advantage of it for sure. It may just be cleaning, but you're going to propel into something.
Yeah. What are some of the things that stick with you that you learned from being in that position?
Time management was time management was a big one. The world of athletics, I mean, athletes practice at 5 a.m., which means the staff and coaches need to be there at 4. Like, it's
right.
It's a whole nother world, and then the day goes all the way until 6, 7 at night. So, I was obviously at class. I'm gonna be at the RPEC getting a workout and stuff like that. So I had other things going on, but being able to manage my time to be able to be as involved as possible, and still do well in school, do well in my other extracurriculars and stuff like that. That was huge. And then just really creating a positive environment too. I think because of the long days, it can be easy for people in that zone to be just get in the motions, get monotonous and stuff like that. So walking in and smiling is can do wonders. Can do wonders.
For sure. Yeah. I feel like, I didn't even mean to interrupt you there, but there's just so much that like you've done, and it's like very, very, very easy to drop that into like a knowledge bomb for people. So sorry to interrupt you there as you were just getting into your background, but feel free to
No,
continue on with that.
we're completely fine. It's being able to. I love doing what I do. And I'm just getting started. Obviously, 22 years old. Like, love doing the stuff that I'm doing. But if I can help provide a nugget of knowledge, whatever, to whoever else, like I love mentoring as well. So I think I found that passion from being mentored. So having people teach me things, I want to be able to pass that on. Because if I have knowledge and don't use it or don't spread it, what's the point of it, right? But yeah, so OSU, it was a great experience for sure. Graduated 2016 from there, and then made my way to Pittsburgh for grad school. It's a very interesting story, I guess. Originally,
He's told me it before. I feel like you should drop it real quick, because it's
yeah,
like that in itself. That story is really cool.
I'll give a short and sweet version for
Yeah.
sure. It's over the summer, going into my senior year, I planned to go to Florida State for grad school, and they had one of the best sports nutrition programs in the country. And I was ready. I was super, like, being a Seminole. It's Ohio State Buckeyes and then Florida State, two of the top athletic programs there, right? And so, I was preparing for this. I graduated, was working over the summer. I started working for Rogue Fitness actually over the summer, building barbells and packing boxes, making bank. They were paying a whole lot over quarantine for sure. And I was working third shift, so 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. because I was the only one available. And I was working and trying to work this side business that I had been developing in max altitude and trying to spend time with my family. Recently got a new girlfriend. I was trying to do way too much at one time, and it came to bite me. And so one morning I was driving back from my third shift, and I fell asleep. And it was like a micro sleep, like one of those where your eyes just close. It was obviously long enough for me to slide into the left lane, and my eyes opened right before I made contact with the car coming in the opposite direction. And so I was able to swerve to the right a little bit and not have a head-on collision. But it was an eye-opener. The car was totaled. Thankfully, thank God, the lady in the other car was okay. But I got out. I was rattled completely. I was so tired, going on like 2-3 hours of sleep over the past couple of days.
Man.
And
I think just like you said about time management, you're one of the best time managers that I've had like met in the undergrad. So like, I know you were trying to do everything you could, but
yeah.
it was like you said, a tough situation.
Yeah, man. It was so, and like you said, the time management thing, sometimes you learn lessons and then you got to relearn because God puts you in a situation. I think that's exactly what it was faith is the foundation of my life for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think God was giving me a message. And so I took that time to slow down and really think about what I wanted to do. And as I took that time to reflect and slow down, I started to think Florida State might not have been the plan, might not have been the best option. Coronavirus was crazy down there. It was 15 hours away from the people I was closest to. And the opportunity was there, but it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, right? Thinking back on it. As I was thinking this, the very next day, I get an email from the director of sports science here at the University of Pittsburgh, who is also the dietitian for the Steelers. And he says, "Hey, Craig, just want to check out, see how graduation went at OSU. We actually have an opportunity down here for you to come intern with the Steelers if you're interested." And I said, "Am I interested? Like, what?" And so I call him that very day. We catch up, so tell him about everything that's going on. Tell him about how I'm committed to go to Florida State right now and to be completely upfront with it. And he was 100% understanding. And he said, do what's best for you and find your path. And that was really encouraging because up to that point, I was trying to tell myself certain things that I needed to do. Other people were trying to tell me what I needed to do. And he was like, just do what you think is right. Do what you think is best. So didn't really make it a short story, but at the end of the day,
It's a really good story though.
I ended up coming to Pittsburgh, didn't even apply to the school when he called, but applied to the school within a matter of 3 weeks.
So how did he hear about you then? I got to know. Are you just like that good or what is it?
That goes back to the networking thing that we're talking about before.
Gotcha.
So I had called a year ago before that interaction. So the summer before that, I called because as I was looking for grad schools, Pittsburgh was one on my list. I called him to just ask about the program, and we got to talking. He was from close to where I was born, like my hometown. So we kind of connected on that path. And we kind of stayed in touch since then, but I hadn't planned on going to his school or being in his program at all. It was just, he was a dietitian for the Steelers. So I was like, this would be a good connection to have,
Definitely.
And so I wish I was that good if you just hear about me, but it's not the case yet. For sure.
Yeah. So you had a little bit of a change of heart and it brought you to the University of Pittsburgh. What's the exact program that you ended up going with there?
Yeah, so I am in the sports science program here at the University of Pittsburgh. It's a 1-year, 3-semester master's program. So fall, spring, and summer. So I'll be done if everything goes as planned, obviously with the virus and all that stuff. I'll be done with my thesis and everything at the end of June, which is really nice because, most master's programs are 2 years. So I'm not paying for that extra year of tuition, which is very key.
There you go.
And being able to just be in this environment, be immersed and just full go with everything. It's very fast paced because it is shortened. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's a great experience.
Yeah.
So with the master's program, every student gets paired with an internship. And that's what Dr. Darnell, who is my director, was talking about. And so I'm able to work closely with the Steelers, their dietitian and their neurosurgeon, as well as the Pitt swim and dive team. And so most of my in-person experience is with the Pitt swim and dive team because the Steelers are top flight security with COVID. So I'm not important enough to get in their facility, basically. You gotta be tier 1.
Yeah.
But I'm working online, doing a lot of Zoom calls and stuff like that, and then get to be in person with the swim team, who is very important as well. Just not as top flight security.
Yeah. I got you. So my follow-up question, how do you manage all of that? Because once again, you stress the importance of time management, but you have your course load and 2 internships. So what are some of your just day-to-day strategies to make sure you can get everything done?
Yeah. Sleep now is a very big one. After that incident with the car accident, I've always been involved with fitness. Sleep was definitely a part of my fitness that I completely ignored. I paid attention to it enough to get by and not fall asleep in class or something like that. But I never took the time to appreciate or understand how much it impacts my ability to perform, whether it's in the gym or at internship or anything,
Mm-hmm.
So definitely prioritizing sleep. And from that, I know that if I prioritize sleep, I'm not going to necessarily lollygag or waste time throughout the day. Before, I was like, oh, I can add this extra thing in because I'll just stay up an extra hour. And then it'll be okay, it'll bounce out. But now that I'm prioritizing that sleep, I have to plan my day out effectively. And so, that's a big one. And then starting the day, like I said, faith is my foundation. So, starting the day with gratitude and starting the day with God. whether it's reading or journaling. I journal a whole lot. Journal a whole lot in the morning, and just really putting into perspective what I should be spending my time on. Because like you said, there's so many opportunities in this world that I was like, oh, I could go do this. Oh, I could go do this. Now, what am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And what has God put me on this earth to do? And I literally write it down. And like, I think really writing it out and seeing it, it becomes so much more clear.
Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Trainer Scoop podcast. I just wanted to let you know I offer a free week of online coaching to anyone that would like to take a strategic approach to training and nutrition. So within this free week of coaching, you'll get a consultation call, personalized calorie and macronutrient values, and of course, your own personalized training program. So if you or anyone you know would like to take advantage of this offer, feel free to just shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, or just follow that link in the description of the podcast and it'll take you right to it. Thank you so much, and back to the show.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, the thing that comes to mind is, I even talked about this in my last episode, you kind of have that relationship between like sound mind, sound body, sound spirit. And I feel like journaling for you, it kind of grounds a lot of those things together, and it relates, your feeling of purpose and that sense of faith to your goals almost. And it's like reaffirming your goals, keeping them in your mind, and that repetition, it's just like really driving home what you have to do from there. So that's a really cool process. How many hours of sleep a night would you say you get on average?
Now it's still not good. It's good for me, but I would say I'm getting 7 solid hours every night, maybe 6 hours, 45 minutes some night if it's a little crazy, but I cut it off right there.
Yeah.
Shooting to get up to 7.5 and then 8, and we'll see how we feel. But I take it incrementally in small wins, because for some reason it's just hard for me.
It is.
Going to sleep, I feel like I'm missing out on something or something. I don't know. And so I'm like, all right, I'll stretch it out to 7 hours and 10 minutes instead of going from 7 hours to 7.5. I know I'm not going to do that. So go to 7 hours and 5 minutes. Like even a 5-minute extra, it may not do much more physically, but mentally it's a win.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that same strategy applies so easily in your diet or your workouts. Like making those small incremental changes over time is what's going to get you like lasting progress. Sure. And just to kind of like echo, I mean, we all know how important sleep is on your athletic performance. Like I did a post about this a while back, and I like compared a study, and they had a group that slept like unrestricted. So most of the times it was like 7 to 9 hours, like that recommendation, versus 5 hours. And the group, they both lost weight. It was like a weight loss trial, seeing how sleep would affect that. But the group that had the adequate amount of sleep held on to like 66% more lean mass than the other group. And that's astounding. Like
it's ridiculous.
Like who in their right mind wouldn't want to try to get sleep? But I understand it's hard. And kind of like on the point that you made about like, you're not like lollygagging or whatever the word was you used. I totally get that, because when we were waking up like 4:45, 5 o'clock, whatever it was for you, to go to the gyms, like I had the 8 a.m. Chem 1220, which was like one of the harder Chem classes that I had to take. And I just felt like at that point I was like waking up and I was just like amped to go to the gym, because that's just how it was. But then by 8, I was like, I'm tired. And it was so hard to stay focused for that, like, what was it, like hour, 20 minutes or whatever it was. And like from there, the rest of your day is kind of just downhill, because you've lost focus. Your mind's on other things. You're thinking about how tired you are. So I really like that strategy that you have of slowly increasing your increments. And I felt like that's a good takeaway point as well.
Yeah, man. It's definitely, a win is a win, no matter what it is. And you can compare all you want, but like you said, that 7 to 9 hours is considered an optimal range. And I saw a study as well that you need at least 7 hours to stimulate growth hormone as you're sleeping, which is the main hormone to develop and build that lean body mass and everything. Obviously, time in bed is different than time sleeping.
Yeah.
So, you can get into that difference. But if I'm in bed for 7 hours versus 5 hours, I'm getting more sleep than not.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing you quickly hit on and we talked about before is as you kind of like reassessed what's really important to you, you had to make some changes. And one of those things that in our last conversation we had, which unfortunately, guys, this one was off air, but I promise it was just as productive as this podcast. You mentioned that you had to kind of like drop the max altitude stuff, which was like your coaching and kind of like social media presence. So what made you come to that decision and how did it kind of like affect you overall?
Yeah, that was something that was not an easy decision. And it was because of the work I felt that I put into it. Not necessarily because it was some major success or because it was, something I was attached to successfully. It was just, I put a lot of hours and I had a vision for it,
Yeah, it's like your baby.
Exactly. And I still have a vision for it. And, if I talk to someone who is double my age, someone who's 40 and 50, and I say I put a lot of hours into it, they're like, you haven't done anything. What do you mean? You're 22 years old. So it's all
relatively.
Right. It's all about perspective. But before coming here, I'd been working on Max Altitude, as you said, which was a nutrition and fitness kind of coaching business and social media presence. I just wanted to educate and help inspire people to pursue the fittest version of themselves. And that was kind of, you were saying, mind, body, spirit. It was fitness to me. It's physical, but it's mental, it's emotional, and it's spiritual as well. And so I would use the platform of physical fitness to try and help people advance in their lives in other ways, right? As I was doing this and trying to create content and working with a marketing team to try and create content and working with different clients and stuff like that, as I said, I wasn't getting enough sleep in the first place. So I really evaluated what I wanted to do in the moment and what I needed to do in the moment. And those were different things. And what I needed to do was something that was going to help me with what I wanted to do. Getting this degree and making the connections at the Steelers facility with Pitt Swim and Dive and just at Pittsburgh in general, I am learning so much that's going to help me down the road in any fitness career that I pursue, and let alone just with the networking opportunities in general, and then learning about true exercise physiology from professors who have been studying it for years, learning about true sports nutrition from master's level professors and everything. Like, that's just the curriculum aspect. I'm learning so much that I knew it was going to help me with Max Altitude or whatever else I decide to pursue in the future. So I had to take a step back and say, this can be on the back burner, and I can, still continue to excel and progress in my
life. Yeah, that's something that's not easy to do, man. So I appreciate that level of introspection that it took to kind of like let off the gas for you, Craig, because, I have other things going on outside of just the online work for myself, working at the gym, training clients, but it would be really hard for me to kind of let off the gas and put the brakes on my online stuff, because it takes a lot of work, like more work than people would realize to set those foundations and to continue, your relationship with your clients. So like you said, I think it's going to pay off in a big way. And sometimes in life, you just got to accept things as they come and know that you're going to have to delay that instant gratification in order for something to get massively improved in the future.
Exactly. That's something, even with what you said, that's something I really have always appreciated about you, is you work, man. And like, I really want to be the hardest working person in the room. And when I get in the room with you, it challenges me because I'm like, all right, I got to give my just a little bit more effort to get with this guy. Like, you put the effort and time, whether it's getting to the gym at 5:30 or, I mean, even in school, like I would see you at Thompson studying. Like, you take whatever you need to at that time, and you put the work in. And with this same thing, I don't see you every day in Jersey putting that time with your clients in, but I don't need to because I know you're doing. I know you. I know you're doing it, right? And
that reminds me, funny side story, right? So Craig and I had a class together. It was a nutrition class. I can't remember what that one was called.
I think it was
So like education.
Yeah, nutrition education. So we had to make this huge educational project.
So Craig and I had this nutrition for education class. And like you said, we had a big project that you present to the class at the end of the year. And if you didn't attend other people's presentations, you got docked. And bro, I had an A in this class the whole year. And for some reason, I just like blanked, like didn't write it down in my schedule, just didn't come. And I was at the gym and I was like, walking out of that workout, it was a great workout. And I was like, yeah, I was supposed to be in class right now.
It dawns on you.
And it was like a massive penalty for not showing up. And I ended up with like an A- in that class because of it. I was like, whatever. Like I went from like a 98 or a 99 to like a 90, bro.
It was a lot of points. Like the project itself presenting was like 100 points. Showing up to see the presentations was like 90. It was so crazy.
And like you said, like I actually felt like I worked for that class, and that's why I was like, man, I had the worst luck. But hey, it happens. It wasn't the end of the world.
Hey, A-, there could be worse things.
Exactly. So I kind of on that tangent, I kind of lost where we were with that question. But yeah, talking about like working hard and that like kind of like recognizing that in other people.
I definitely have always admired that about you, and that's why I have wanted to stay in touch, like regardless of where we are. Like, you are someone who I always enjoy talking to, and we can joke around, we can have fun, and at the same time I know that you're gonna push me and motivate me in some direction at the same time. So
right,
it's definitely beneficial.
Yeah, and that reminds me, keeping in touch. Last time I drove back to Ohio from New Jersey, I took a wrong exit and I ended up in Pittsburgh. And I was like this close to texting you, be like, yo, Craig, you trying to hang out?
Hey, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, I'm trying to get back at like a decent time so I'm not driving through the middle of the night.
Right.
But we're going to have to, it's going to have a link up soon, whether it's a workout or whatever, a live podcast.
There you go.
Next time I'm on my way back, because it's not a far detour.
Right there. I like that. Very cool.
Yeah. So one kind of question that came to mind, Craig, now that you've been into your curriculum for a little bit, couple months, what's like one thing that you've learned in terms of exercise physiology and nutrition for performance so far?
A new thing?
Or maybe not new, but like you've learned in depth, like what you become passionate about.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of stuff. You know, like I said, my undergrad was in dietetics, specifically performance nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
I took exercise physiology classes. I've been involved with fitness for more than half my life at 22. And so I think the base level of stuff I had a good understanding of. Getting into grad school, it was like just diving deep into everything, right? And getting the below surface level on a lot of concepts. And so one of the things was something as well known as like glycogen synthesis, right? Mm. And so we understand we have glycogen in our muscles, and as you work out, that depletes, and you need to eat and recover in order to build that back up, right? But, you know, being in class, I'm learning about specific exercise and specific movements that deplete your glycogen more than others. And I'm learning about the specific time frames, how there's a rapid glycogen synthesis stage and then a slow moving glycogen synthesis stage. And then one after that, that, as the different time periods that you eat, you need to prioritize them. So within that first hour after your workout, a lot of people think that's the anabolic window or whatever, right? And they think about it as a protein muscle building stage. And there's some science to that. There's a lot more science on the rapid glycogen synthesis stage and how within an hour after your workout, if you're consuming 1 to 2 grams of carbs per kilogram, that's going to boost your muscle glycogen way more than if you were to wait an hour or 2 hours after your workout. So eating after your workout is critical, but it may not be for the same reasons that everyone understands as far as the protein aspect, right?
Right. So as you were going through that, I was like, oh man, don't tempt me with a good time. Because like you said, like I have like a surface level idea of a lot of stuff, but that's very interesting. So like on that topic in particular of maybe it's like nutrient timing and when certain like not certain, but like when glycogen is depleted in maybe different increments, is that why you think they like recommend like different types of carbohydrates in a pre-workout meal, and in order for that timing to be like released at a more optimal rate? Or what's your take on it?
Right. So within your pre-workout, during the workout, and after your workout, you're going to want different carb sources.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what carb sources you're getting, it really goes into the transporters that are being used to bring those carbs into your body. So if you have something that's all glucose, for example, only your glucose transporters are being used, right? And they can only take in so much at one time, right? And so you're not going to absorb that as well and as quickly as if you were to have a glucose, a fructose, a lactose, whatever, however many carb sources you want to use. If you're using those different transporters, you're able to absorb it better and more efficiently. And so that's where having a variety of carb sources, a variety of nutrients comes into play and becomes effective.
Okay, got you. So maybe it's not as much like timing release sensitive, but just like more optimal absorption.
It is from a release standpoint as well. Like the low glycemic carbs are going to release slower.
Right.
When I heard your question initially, I thought of something different, but what you're talking about with the release is definitely a key aspect. It takes more to break down the polysaccharides is what they're called. So it takes more to break those down. There's more fiber involved, so it sticks with you a little longer. Whereas a high glycemic carb, like a piece of white bread, for example, like that's in and out, man.
Right.
High sugar Gatorade, high sugary juices, stuff like that. Those are going to be good to have during your workout, especially for the swimmers I'm working with. They're on in the middle of it. They have like 15 seconds between their sets, and then they're gone, right? So if we can get them a high energy Gatorade chew or some just high sugar substance, that's going to be most effective to help them replenish that glycogen during the workout.
Yeah. What's the macros on those Gatorade chews? Is it like crazy high carb or?
It depends on which ones you're getting. I don't even know the exact macros. I think one of them you can get, and it's like somewhere around 100 to 150 calories in just like this one little square.
Dang.
So it depends on how much you get, but it's pure carb and very high in sugar. And so, from a outside perspective, outside of the world of athletics, maybe, you may see that and be like, oh, I don't want this. It's so high in sugar, right? Something I've learned and continuing to learn is performance and health don't always go hand in hand. They don't always combine. So it's definitely not a all the time snack. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah, definitely. There's a book that I read. There's like I don't know if you've ever heard of this dude. He's pretty big on like YouTube. His name is Jeff Nippard. But Yeah. So Jeff Nippard put out this book. It's called something like The Guide to Body Recomposition. And he talks a lot about like the different or like ideal nutrient timing.
Mhm.
And yeah, he brought up the point of like the various transporters for like different carb sources.
Right.
So if you guys want to read a little bit more in depth, I would definitely recommend that book. That book pretty much like summed up all of the nutrition stuff I learned
Yeah.
for $40. And I was like so bitter. Like I wouldn't have been able to understand it as well. But
Right.
I mean, and I had like a very broad degree, but I feel like that would definitely be a good book for you guys to check out. And then like on that same path, like I told you last time we talked that I was doing the Renaissance Periodization diet app.
Yeah. How's that going?
And yeah, man, it's been good. It's just like maintaining weight right now. I'm going to compete as long as COVID doesn't throw a wrench in it. I'm going to compete in December, and I'm just like maintaining at 220 right now. I'll do like a tiny little cut so I can hit the weigh-in, but it's been good. And they'll have you like, when I first saw this with the app, like pre-workout, they have like an intra shake and then post-workout. The carbs are just crazy high. Like that's why I'll be having the Gatorade as intra, and it's still like 100 grams carbs post-workout and like 80 pre-workout.
Right.
And it's really high, but like you said, performance and health aren't always like hand in hand. So it is interesting to see that. And I mean, overall, I feel like you're still going to be healthy, but if you were to do that for like long periods of time, maybe I'm not quite as sure, but it's very interesting stuff. And like you said, it sounds like a good time to be learning all that.
It definitely is. It's, grad school is a whole lot more focused than, you take those, not stupid, but in the moment they seem stupid GEs that you don't really care about. And,
Yeah.
Different classes where there's a lot of busy work. Even in your core classes, it seems like there's busy work sometimes. Grad school, it's busy, but it's not because there's busy work necessarily.
Yeah.
It's very, for either we're working on something for a thesis, I'm working on something for internship, or I have like I'm doing this presentation on caffeine on Tuesday for one of my classes, and it's all about the supplementation and implementation of caffeine on performance. So it's directly correlating to something that I may use down the line. So it's very applicable, which is
So drop some knowledge on caffeine to us.
Oh boy. Well, it is the man, oh man. Caffeine is everywhere.
It's like the highest consumed drug, right?
Yes, it is the highest consumed psychostimulant in the world. 80% of the world takes in some sort of caffeine every single day. And that's absurd. So like more than some food groups is that level. And so, it is so widely used, but it's also one of the most proven performance supplements out there.
Yeah.
It's right up there with creatine is another one that's highly studied, but caffeine is very highly proven, more beneficial for endurance athletes. That's what most of the studies have shown. It helps to decrease your RPE. So you can go at a certain intensity, and normally you may feel like that's a 10. If you're running at 15 miles an hour or whatever, you may feel like that's a 10. On caffeine, you may feel like it's a 7 or 8, right? Just because of the stimulation that it brings to your brain.
And to get into that real quick, I can't remember the exact receptors and all that, but essentially caffeine just like blocks that feeling of tiredness, correct?
Right. So they're the adenosine receptors.
Yeah, adenosine. Yeah.
So they latch on to the receptors that are in your brain. So the adenosine, which is basically, like you said, what makes you drowsy, what makes you tired, those things cannot latch onto the receptors. You just have this high for as long as those caffeine molecules are in your body. The half-life is about 5 hours for most products. So that's why they say, you probably shouldn't drink a cup of coffee after like 4 or 5 o'clock, because if you do, you're like, oh, I'll be fine by 8 or 9 o'clock when I go to bed. Like, no, it's that stuff's still in your body. It's still stimulating your brain to stay awake and not allow you to sleep.
Yeah, you're still gonna have like 100 milligrams of caffeine keeping you up.
Exactly. And, the average cup of coffee, obviously it depends on how it's brewed, how it's made, what's in it, stuff like that. But the average cup of coffee is about 100 milligrams. You want 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. So say I'm about 155 pounds, right? So that's about 70 something kilograms. So I would want about 200 to whatever that math is, 330, 200 to 330 milligrams of caffeine. That's about 3 cups of coffee before I go and work out, right? I don't drink coffee at all, so I'm not on that. But for someone who would, that'd be what they would want to get. And so using the powders and pills may be more beneficial that's a lot of liquid to try and consume.
Definitely. Yeah, it's something that I've looked into quite a bit as well, because like you said, it is ergogenic and very, very highly studied. And like you said, like that recommendation, it can be pretty high. Like for me, so I'm like 100 kilograms, 300 to 600. Like I've only ever had more than like 400 milligrams of caffeine on the meet day. And I do that on purpose. Like one video that I made, which was like ideal. This is so funny, Craig. And I feel like you're going to appreciate this. Easily the best piece of content I've ever released. Like, I feel like I had some crazy, like new, like this has never been presented anywhere online, but it was supplementation and nutrient timing for powerlifting meet day. And because powerlifters don't give a shit about their nutrition, but like, before your first squat opener, like have this, just like the recommendations, like you said, like for me, it would probably be like 300 milligrams of caffeine, like 100 grams of carbs, like 2 hours before, coming from various sources. That was the framework of the video, but it was before I like ever learned how to edit and like make things look appealing. So that has like 8 views on YouTube right now. And I'm thinking about redoing it because it's just something funny that I feel like you would appreciate.
Oh, for sure. And please redo that, man, because that is something that is so needed. And, I am not in the powerlifting space, so I understand nutrition, but not necessarily the tactical aspects that go into a meet. So for you to be in that space and understand that, and like you said, nutrition is one of the last things I think that are thought about by most powerlifters.
Yeah.
So it's so needed, man. Please, I'm going to ask you about it a couple weeks from now.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the original video. It's just like me talking to my phone in like a poorly lit room. It's so bad. But my point with that was like that recommendation can be pretty high for a lot of people. And what I'm doing right now is trying to I've been doing it for the past month, is just like reduce caffeine consumption so I'll be more sensitive. Of course, I don't want it to be like crazy sensitive to the point where I'm taking like 300 milligrams and then just tweaking. Right. But like I've tried to cut mine in half to where I'm doing just like very low doses to kind of like resensitize my body to that. So I've been switching to like, I'm a big fan of pre-workout just because the placebo effect mostly. So I've been switching to a more, nitric oxide type, like pump blood flow. And just, honestly, it's probably just the taste. That's really.
There's some stuff to that though. Even the nitric oxide itself, there is some stuff to that, and the placebo effect too. There is definitely.
Yeah.
Look good, feel good, play good. Right? It's definitely a real concept.
But it sounds like you have a pretty solid presentation coming to class.
I hope so.
As far as caffeine goes.
It's a nice little practice. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Putting you on the spot, man.
Right.
So you were talking a couple of seconds ago about like you may not be most into powerlifting, but how would you describe your workout style?
Yeah. I have competed in CrossFit for my senior year of high school. So it's 5 years now, I guess. before that, I was running track and playing football, and I was like, I need something to do. Like, I can't just go from having possibly 2 practices every single day to nothing, right?
Yeah.
Or just working out, just typically, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And there is absolutely nothing wrong with, going to the gym for complete health and in that aspect. But I think that it gave me something more to work for. Like you said, going and competing on that powerlifting. Like, I had a specific goal, and like I said, I write down stuff all the time. I'm just very measurable. I think, and having that to work for really helped me. So I've competed in CrossFit several times throughout the past 5 years, but I wouldn't say I'm a CrossFitter, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I like all kinds of fitness. I definitely implement more hypertrophy work and have just specific bodybuilding type days. I go out and do long runs. Like, it's just whatever I feel helps me progress towards my goals, which is right now putting on a little weight, which I feel like has been my goal for a while.
Yeah, I think the last time we talked, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, so since I've been here, I've actually gained 15 pounds, which is
Nice, man.
pretty nice. So it's about 1.5 pounds a week so far, which is pretty solid. I've always been a smaller, like, just a small, quick dude that can run and, good at cardio, but the strength aspect is always something I'm working on. So, whatever I can do to not only have fun myself, but also learn, because, I'm in this, and I know I'm not a professional athlete by any means. I'm going to take my fitness seriously for sure, but I also know that I've been given a gift of being fit and being in this space to help other people. So if I can learn a new workout style, if I can learn a new movement, and I'm like, oh, I can help a client down the road, I can help a friend, whatever it is, like, I'm gonna enjoy every minute of it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So going back to your CrossFit competition days, what was one of the hardest events? Or, like, I know they do like combination of events as well. So what was one of the hardest things you encountered when you were competing?
Yeah, there's been a lot. There's been a lot. And I think competition day has a different level of intensity for sure. But going through training, there's been some workouts where I'm like, that was terrible. That was just, I never want to do that again. And it makes that competition day seem a little less bad, I guess, when you train in that way. Going from track, I was a 400 and 800 meter runner, a middle distance. And those are two of the most painful races ever. Like, lactic acid is very real in those.
Yeah.
So I think I've always kind of been able to get into an uncomfortable zone, I guess. As far as CrossFit, I think there was a workout that was it was 5 rounds. I think it was 5 rounds, 15 front squat at 135, and then 30 calorie row, and like 50 double unders or something like that, and 5 rounds for time. And bro, just the front squat to the row, I didn't have legs after. Like, they were just demoralized, and that's definitely something that is very competition based. Like, if I did that in training, I wouldn't be doing something like that for a very long time after. But yeah, that one was tough. I laid on the ground for a very long
time. Yeah, especially like having to have that explosive strength to get the double unders. Like, because you kind of have to jump relatively high.
Yeah.
To do that. So yeah, that sounds pretty tough. I just remember you doing like supersets with burpees. Like, you'd be doing barbell work and then burpees at the RPAC. I was like, sheesh.
Yeah. There would be workouts where it'd be like 10 minutes every minute on the minute, and it'd be 10 thrusters at
Yep.
95 pounds, and then 10 bar facing burpees on the other minute. So your recovery was like 10 bar facing burpees. So it definitely builds your aerobic capacity, that's for sure, and builds mental strength. Like once you get to minute 7 or 8, you're like, wow, what did I just sign up for? Like, what am I doing? But after you're done, you always come back for more every single time.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, like putting up heavy weight like that is not comfortable, I'm sure. And you still go back and do it every
Right.
time.
Yeah. So you mentioned you've put on some weight lately. What's been your strategy to do that?
Eat, 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 eat. Like I said, nutrition has always been something of strong interest of mine. And it's because I have been smaller. So, playing football and running track, I was like, I'm not the biggest guy. And I was fast in track. I made state and stuff like that. But I wasn't necessarily always the most athletic. So I was like, what else can I do to give me that extra edge, right? And nutrition became that thing. And so I used a lot of stuff that I've learned to help me in my goals today. And so peanut butter is a big thing that I eat a lot of. And it sounds so stereotypical, but I think peanut butter is the best invention since ever. One. And it also is so practical. A spoonful of peanut butter, 2 tablespoons, 190 calories. That's like a whole cup of rice. A whole cup of rice, you can eat 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. Has essential fatty acids, the essential fats that you need, still has carbs, and has more protein than a cup of rice. And you won't be as full. Like it's
pretty palatable.
Yeah. And so that's just one example of like higher calorie dense foods that are still nutritious, So stuff like quinoa instead of rice. Like you always hear about chicken and rice. I don't think that's the way to live. I just don't think it's the best way to go. It's definitely a way, and it can be effective, but I said quinoa, like that is something that has more essential amino acids, has more protein than rice. It's lighter on your stomach, and a cup for cup, it has slightly more calories than rice does. And so as you're eating and increasing your calories more and more, like every single spoonful is going to make a difference, right? So you're just taking those higher density foods, stuff like eggs, eating a whole egg versus that egg white that has the essential fats in it. And people sometimes get nervous about just fat in general. Now more with the keto diet and stuff, it's becoming more and more popular to add fats into your diet. But before it was like fat makes you fat. But if you don't have fat, you're not going to be able to recover. Like your hormones, inflammation is very much based on antioxidants and fat, your intake in that. So implementing stuff like eggs, implementing stuff like peanut butter, and then enjoying what I eat for sure, because you gotta you gotta eat a lot of it, so might as well like it. And then from a training perspective, I would say not necessarily giving into my cardio tendency, I guess. Whenever I think of a workout, cardio is always implemented in some way, shape, or form. And it is very important. And I think from a health perspective, like everyone should do some sort of cardiovascular fitness for sure. For putting on weight, if you're doing 20, 30 minutes of cardio every single day, and if it's at a higher intensity, like sometimes CrossFit calls for, you're going to be burning a whole lot of calories. And sometimes you just cannot eat all those to make them up, right? So maybe it's cutting that down to 10 minutes of higher intensity cardio and implementing some more strength building stuff to help build that muscle, stimulate the muscle protein synthesis, So then you're still working towards your goals. You're still getting a great workout in. You're still burning calories, but it's more specific towards your goals.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's some really good, just practical information for the people. So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, I think I went on a little bit of a tangent.
No. It was all good stuff. So one thing that I feel like that's just like cool about, the education we've had and part of this field in general is just being able to utilize the knowledge you learn for your passions and then advancing to your goal. So it's definitely a learning process. Where do you think one of the like biggest or even like just dumbest mistakes you made in the past when you were maybe in high school or like before you had learned a lot of the basics in college as far as training and nutrition goes?
Just one? Man, that's
Well, we already talked about sleep, so that's off the table.
yeah, that would be a very big one. Um, hmm. I think it could go back to I have two that I thought of off bat. One of them is that monotony of the food, and I just being completely like transparent. I definitely struggled with um, an eating disorder of some form, whether it was disordered eating or an eating disorder, and like I had to eat the same exact things every single day, and if I didn't, I felt like I wasn't healthy. I felt like I wasn't fit. I felt like I wasn't progressing, right? And it was those staple the rice, the oatmeal, the chicken, like
Mm-hmm.
constantly. Only certain kinds of vegetables because the other ones weren't productive or something like that, right? Um, and so then I learned that diversity in your diet is more than beneficial. It's like the best way to not only promote health but also promote performance because you recover better, stuff like that. And so really diversifying my diet to be able to boost my physical fitness as well as social fitness. Like when you're someone who is strict on a T about they can only eat certain things, and you go out to dinner, like if you were to go out to dinner with your girlfriend and be like, yeah, I can only eat this, and this, she's probably not going to want to go out with you too many times. Like it's not productive for social environments, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
being less strict while still being me and going for my goals. I'm not going to conform to eating out every single day and fast food and stuff like that. But I'm gonna use what I've learned to be able to eat healthy in any environment. Another one was that rest days are needed and are important. And I would definitely go along with not getting sleep. I would go weeks and just work out hard for every single day. And so I was literally just beating myself into the ground, like constantly. And that work ethic that we were talking about, I was like, I'm not tired. Like I gotta go and work. I gotta go and work out. And then I realized, like after a period of time, I started to take rest days. I started to notice my performance increase. I started to notice me getting stronger. I started to notice me being able to hold paces while I was running or rowing longer for more sets or something like that. And I was like, wow, maybe there is something to this. Maybe I am supposed to run. But it was me getting kicked in the dirt and feeling terrible that even pushed me to that point of like, wow, I really need to recover.
Yeah, I feel like I had a lot of the same kind of struggles and learning experiences too, man. The one like, and I have nothing against this guy, but the one that come to mind for me, well, yeah, there's two, I guess. So I had this like social media idol and I loved everything he did. Thought it was so cool, but it was squatting every day. And then like that also like waking up super early. So squatting every day to like a max, whether it be like a single, triple, whatever.
Yeah.
And waking up like super early. I like eventually came to the point where I was waking up at 3 to go work out at 4. And And then like you're gonna find this funny. I know we've talked about this, but like the diet was called anabolic fasting, right? And just like that's like it doesn't make sense if you actually know anything about
Right.
nutrition. And
Explain to me.
so I forget if I told you about this, but it was like you fast until like noon after working out at 4. So you're catabolic for like 7-8 hours, 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah.
And you fast, you don't eat carbs until you like before you go to bed. And it was just 2 bananas and peanut butter.
That was it. Like it had to be 2 bananas and peanut butter.
or like a sweet potato or like it's just
Man, that is
super weird. And I did it because I had like the access to do it at like Kennedy Commons or like Scott Dining Hall with the meal plan because it was like easy to like pound that much protein and have fat and stuff.
So is this like during your sophomore?
So I did that freshman, sophomore. Yeah, and then I was like, okay, never mind.
Because I do remember a period of time where you would like fluctuate. You were very good at, going after your goals. And so when you were bulking, like I knew you were bulking. And when you were cutting, I knew you were cutting. And there was multiple instances where you were like just shredded. You were shredded and you looked miserable. Honestly, at some instances, like, my physique is there, but like, I am so hungry.
Yeah. And I mean, to a certain extent, like that'll happen. Like if you're getting like a certain amount of lean.
Right.
But it was just weird. And then like you said, like after I stopped doing that, I just like went on a YOLO bulk and gained 40 pounds in a couple months. So.
No, we knew what your goals were every time.
That's funny. Shoot. So, try to learn from our mistakes in that case and don't do some of that stuff. The disordered eating, I think, is also extremely prevalent for guys like us. And it's very, very tough to, like, because you don't want to hear any advice. Like, if I were to tell, like, a 16-year-old or, like, 16-year-old me, probably not going to listen. I don't know how you were, but you probably wouldn't have either.
Oh, of course not. No.
I guess like my best piece of advice is if you notice someone's doing that where they'd be like super restrictive or like something just doesn't seem right, just try to talk to them. And like if it has to get to that certain point, like tell them to get help or try to get them help. Because like you said, it's a real thing and it can definitely have some health implications down the road. So
yeah, man. And it's something I am very passionate about is eating disorders, but it goes into a larger area of people within the fitness space or athletes specifically, and people see them and it's like, oh, they have it all together. They have money, they're successful, they're physically fit, quote unquote. What could be going wrong? Behind the scenes, so many things could be going on. They emotionally could not be where they're all kept up to be. Physically, they could look healthy and not be completely healthy. And even the practical aspects, like once an athlete gets past their athletic career, the average NFL career is like 3 years. So what are they going to do after that if they don't understand financial health, if they don't understand mental health, if they don't understand the networking that we were talking about before? Like, that's where I really, along with the physical fitness, that's what I want to help athletes to understand is like being the best version of yourself all around, And it's your athletic career, maximize it, but it only goes so far.
Definitely.
Sure.
I remember last time we talked, Craig, you told me if you're like ideal / like dream title for your career. You want to get into that a little bit? Because I feel like that was a good transition right there.
Yeah, man. It definitely lines up with what I was just talking about. Director of Performance Optimization was the exact title. And it may exist out there somewhere right now, but I'm going to become one if it does.
It's either it does exist and you'll do it, or you'll make it.
Exactly. One of the two.
Yeah.
You know, I've done some research and seen some different areas of things that would be really cool to get in on. But basically, performance, you know, this podcast is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, overall fitness based, right? And helping people to excel. And I want to do that on a large scale. And I think that physical fitness and athletics is a platform that I've been given from God to be able to use, but it's not the only thing that is supposed to be involved with performance. My performance is different than your performance, which is different than a 50-year-old's performance. Like, they may need to perform at a desk job. They may need to perform at working online, like whatever it is. I want to help people optimize their performance for life, right? And so with that being said, it's a very broad, you know, kind of vision. But it definitely incorporates helping athletes to be able to physically, mentally optimize their careers. I love working with elite athletes because they typically are driven, right? You know, working with clients, there's a difference between ones that want to be there and ones that just show up, right? And I enjoy working with the people that are very, very driven. But even further than that, I want to help them improve their performance past their careers, and then also helping, you know, organizations and stuff like that. I work with a nonprofit organization here or there in Columbus called the Columbus Relief. And so we help the homeless and to provide resources such as food, clothing, professional development, stuff like that. So, you know, helping with the organizational side of performance development. It's a big vision. It's a big plan. It's not all laid out 100% by any means, but I think it's something that I would like to either create or get in on for sure.
Yeah, and I think there's a large need for it because, like you said, whether it is, I mean, even outside of athletic populations, that seems to be like your focus, but there's just such a need for it everywhere. And like the stat that you gave with the average NFL career being 3 years, you know, I know some people have everything in line for afterwards, you know, being able to transition into a career, leverage all of that network. But I feel like probably a lot of athletes don't, because they're so focused on, you know, the field, and whether it be practice, lifting, having a good time, you know, that's what they might be focused on. But you got to take in the other elements too to set yourself up for success in the future. So I think you're definitely going to have something there, and it's going to make waves in the future, man. I'm excited to see it.
It's definitely, like you said, it's the athletic population. And I keep mentioning that because it is, you know, a area that I'm drawn to. I want to help as many people as possible. And so whether I'm helping an athlete or whether I'm helping, for me, an athlete is anyone who dedicates some of their life to fitness, you know, being physically fit. So there's an elite athlete, and there's a LeBron James of the world, and then there's the 30-year-old guy at the Y playing pickup basketball. Like, they're both athletes. They both have needs. They're just a little bit different, right?
That's really true.
And so being able to help a variety of athletes, like you said, their focus is maybe on getting better in the gym, on, you know, having fun and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, athletics, for the elite athletes, athletics is their platform. And I think in order to really do well at anything, you have to have a platform, and you have to master your craft, right? And so, like for us, we're trying to become masters at this world of fitness, right? And for us to dive into anything else, we have to have credibility in what our initial platform was initially, or else we're just going to be trying to pick at a bunch of different things that we're not really any good at. We're just kind of good at it a lot, right? So I think it's important for them to really dial in on that athlete side, with time being able to, understand and really grasp the other aspects too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. There's going to be, like I say, you're going to make waves with it. And I think that like transitions almost perfectly into my next question for you. I think it's super important throughout our entire life. Right now you're going ahead to further your education. It's super important for those professional athletes to be, learning, even if it's like financial health. It doesn't have to be just about their specific job on the field. Could be, networking, learning how to leverage those things, learning how to make sure their credit's good, all that. So of course you're in school right now. So it could be stuff from school, like maybe readings you've done, or kind of like your top learning sources, whether it's in an academic setting or, people on social media, books, videos. But what are some of your go-tos?
Yeah, as far as, sources that to go to learn, you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
I would say YouTube is a really YouTube has been a very beneficial one for me.
So true. I will have a YouTube video on the background all the time. Like
Literally.
whatever it is, it could be like Renaissance periodization. It could be something completely different, or maybe it's just like a Call of Duty video because I've been gaming a little bit in the downtime, learning
Right.
about how to be better at that. But man, YouTube is so crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think it's in my opinion, I think it's the best form of social media.
Mm-hmm.
Biased because that's what I use the most, but um, because I can, like you said, I can listen to it. I can set it down and do something in the background and just be listening to it. It also, if I want, I can get that visual representation of what's going on. It can be more in depth than a minute Instagram video, maybe, or but it also can be very, very short and succinct, right? So
real quick, Craig, remember when we had anatomy together?
Yeah.
And we had like the course instructor and then like the whole anatomy instructor come in sometimes, right? Dude, and I remember we would sit up in the front row and the whole anatomy instructor would come in and do a presentation and she would be rapid fire.
I still don't know what she said.
And I looked over at you at the end of one of those like 50-minute lectures. I was like, that didn't help me at all.
Not at all.
But I would be on YouTube like looking up like videos. For some reason, the videos would help me learn better.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was like the entertainment component that the person had as well. But yeah, even in school, I felt like it was a good tool.
It is, man. And that professor, I think she was smarter than she knew how to handle. Or something.
Yeah.
Because I would walk into that class and know less about anatomy walking out afterwards. Like it was way too difficult to comprehend. But like using those YouTube videos was super helpful in that aspect. A lot of stuff that I've learned. So YouTube is a big one.
Who do you follow on YouTube that you like?
I've definitely watched a lot of Jeff Nippard stuff, and I think from other sources, there's different aspects that I use. I watch a lot of sermons, so like Stephen Furtick, pastor out in North Carolina. I like that a lot. As far as RP and Trifecta, I watch Mike Israetel, a lot of his stuff. But he's a entertaining dude. Very weird, quirky dude, but it can be entertaining at times.
He is super smart, man.
Oh my gosh, it is crazy. I actually got a chance to meet him at the Rogue Invitation.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you were at that booth, right?
Yeah, I was right down the road from him, so I went over and talked to him. And I forget if I told you this last time, but it might have even been in the same time period because we talked last summer. And I was going down to this gym in Philly but he had like just moved out. He just moved to like Las Vegas, and they used to train at this gym, but his old training partner, who was also at the RP booth, is this really big dude named Charlie. He was still at Iron Sport in Philly, so I was talking to him a little bit. But I just missed Dr. Mike. Like it was like 2 weeks. But yeah, If you don't follow him on YouTube, go follow him. Like it's honestly like undergrad level information that he puts out.
For sure.
And it's free.
Literally, it's something that's so tangible, so understandable, and yet can propel your understanding in a lot of areas within exercise physiology and nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Helms is another guy I listen to. Different from a CrossFit perspective, people like Ben Bergeron I've listened to a lot, who's a big CrossFit name out here. James Fitzgerald is another one. He trains OPEX training. So
wait, which one did he do?
OPEX?
Yeah. I met one of the coaches at the Granite Games from OPEX, and I was like grilling him with questions, and then I signed up to their newsletter. I still get that, but yeah, they put out good stuff. Good YouTube channel.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool.
I can't remember his name, but
that's really cool.
It was a good conversation, at least.
That's what matters. And then, that's from a fitness perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I like to learn in all aspects. John Maxwell is a big leadership name that I listen to. I mentioned Stephen Furtick with the Sermons and Faith. Michael Todd, who's a pastor out in down south somewhere, Georgia maybe. Mm-hmm. And a lot of their content. And then I don't know if you can, but this book right here, this one gets me every time.
Yes, sir.
the best sold book for 2020 years straight. But I read a lot, but the Bible is definitely one of my most books.
Do you do it like in a devotional way, or do you read straight through it?
I cannot read straight through it. I used to try and do that, and I talked to one of my pastors back in Columbus when I was there, and I was like, why don't I like reading the Bible? Like, why is this so boring? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, this is not entertaining. I don't know about you, but I don't like reading this. And he said, well, how are you reading it? And I said, I just, like any other book, I just read it. And he said, well, that's why. And so what do you mean? He's like, you're reading it like a textbook. Like, you're reading it like a student. And I would read something that they don't necessarily want to read. And I said, oh, okay. So now I take, different aspects that are really important prevalent in my life, I guess. And so if I'm going through a transition like I was the past couple of months, like I'll look at specific verses that are talking about transition, right? Mm-hmm. And not only read them, but write them down and apply them and stuff like that. So that's something that has really helped me in understanding my faith and enjoying reading the Bible, for sure.
Man, I'll tell you what, though, some of that Old Testament, it's like they had some drama back in those days, man.
Oh, man.
There were some parts I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
If you were to do it straight through, not that would be tough.
It is. There's definitely some of the stuff in there, like, you can't make it up. And that's why, like, there's the story about Jesus healing a man by spitting on his eyes, right? Like, who does that? Like, what? You don't make that stuff up, right? So it's got to be true. It's got to be real. And, like, what you can get from it is amazing. So I think that Jesus is. I like learning from the best. Like I said, surrounding myself with people who stretch me. I think Jesus is the best leader in history. So if I can learn from him, why not? Right?
That's an interesting take on it too. I never thought about it like that, but it is very prolific and highly followed. So that's a good way to put it as well.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, man?
So some of my go-tos in terms of learning, I'd say like approaching it from the fitness. I feel like Jeff Nippard's got a lot of good videos. I wouldn't say like I'm outgrowing him,
Yeah.
But I feel like, I mean, I'm probably less intelligent than him because I feel like he's a very, he's good at a lot of different things, not just fitness knowledge. But my fitness knowledge might be like close to that, and I always like to like take it a step ahead, right? So not that I still can't get good knowledge out of him. I shouldn't even say like intelligence, but like I've been listening to a lot of Mike Israetel and RP. Especially, I really like the conversations on a Revive Stronger podcast.
Yeah.
So he has like, his name is, the host's name is Steve. He's like from the UK, but he has like Dr. Mike on there all the time. A lot of other big names from the science community. And so that podcast has been great. I'm trying to think in terms of like fitness influencers. You know, it used to be a big part of my life, but I feel like now things have kind of changed and I'm getting my information from just like, honestly, if I have a question, I'll just Google a study and look through it that way. And that's nice to be able to do. It's also nice to have like a lot of things in a book. Like I said, the Jeff Nippard, like body recomposition, that was a great overall nutrition book. There's a book that's like kind of like the Bible of exercise phys. It's called Super Training, and it's similarly to the Bible as well. You can't read straight through it, but you kind of have to jump around to whatever questions you might have. So if I do have a question or like a client has a question that I don't know, I'll just pop into that and look into it. In terms of personal development, right now I'm reading a book. I'll pull it up real quick. I got it on the iPad. So it's called Atomic Habits.
Yeah, James Clear.
Yeah, James Clear. Yep. I was trying to think who the author was, but yeah, James Clear, Atomic Habits. This one.
That's a great one.
I have Super Training on here too. To the left. And then what's another one? Oh yeah. This Scientific Principles of Strength Training, which was co-authored by Mike Israetel and Chad Wesley Smith. This one right here. That one is, in terms of just strength, so much good information. And then Mike Israetel is actually coming out with Scientific Principles of Hypertrophy. So probably going to be picking that one up as well, just to really zone in. I also have my, like randomly, I was paired up with an international student. He was one of the few in like the exercise science programs. And I was just like, you know, pretty friendly with him. He was a super nice dude. He airdrops me the textbook, which I was literally about to go out and buy for like $120.
Oh.
He airdropped it to me, bro. So I still have that on here, and I'll look to it.
That is awesome.
But yeah, those are some of the things that I go to for the fitness side and personal development, as well as like Eric Thomas. I used to be big on Gary Vee. He kind of comes and goes with me sometimes. But he was another one that was read his books, watched the videos, you know, you get hype at the very least.
For sure. Exactly. He's a good hype man. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then, you know, as weird as it sounds, like the way this podcast is kind of going is I'll be networking with people with like higher degrees, right? So like I had a guy who was actually one of Dr. Mike's students, Danny Wirt. He was on. I had, you know, a guy that I did when I did my internship in Indianapolis, who's now getting a PhD, Davin. He's someone that I always go to. So just using my network as well.
Nice.
To have questions answered. As a side note, so Danny, he's very, very ambitious dude, and he's offering a service now. It's called Research and Results. And essentially he's on his way to a PhD. And then a girl named Kristen Dunsmore, I should say lady, she's not a girl. She's stronger than me. She's like national champion powerlifter. So yeah, I've never personally met her, no offense meant by that. But, and then they also have an RD on their staff too. And they essentially just go through like various studies and break it down, explain the concepts behind them, and as it pertains to fitness and health and performance. And so that's kind of like the MASS. I don't know if you ever heard of the MASS, which is like another one where they break down studies and explain them in like regular people terms.
Yeah.
But Danny has that component. The RD does like diet side of things, whether it just be like recipe ideas, similar to like what they do on RP.
Nice.
They do like videos breaking down how to set up programs for hypertrophy and strength. And they have like a community feature. And I'm actually an affiliate for that. So if you guys are interested in learning more, like I think the good thing about it, and Craig, I feel like you'd be able to kind of ride off this as well. Like when you're first getting started, there's so much information out there and you really don't know someone's intentions. Like if they just want to sell you something and they're giving out information, or if they're like actually trying to just put out the information.
Sure.
And I feel like generally, not saying that like degrees mean everything, but like the more degrees a person has, they're probably a valid source of information and they're trying to help. And of course that's not true for everybody, but I feel like Danny has a really cool he has a very cool service there. And of course, if you guys ever want to check that out, feel free to let me know. I'll hook you up with the details. But this has also been, I've learned some interesting stuff that I actually want to cover in a video. So you have to be on the lookout for that, guys. But
Dang.
they had one that they covered. It was like a beer study, examining
really?
like alcohol on performance and like body composition. So that was cool.
That is definitely, I'll be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. Yeah. They analyzed like a whole bunch of different studies. I picked through like a couple of them that I wanted to cover in a video. Now I just got to film. So
there you go. I saw some of that from the company I was telling you, Whoop, the company I was telling you. They did some studies on that. So I've seen some, but I definitely want to hear what you got.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, there's, maybe you're talking about with the degrees and the research-backed evidence and stuff like that. It's important. It's definitely important because there is so much information out there and so many people who are trying to provide the information that you don't necessarily know what's real, what you can trust, like you said. And so getting that, being in grad school, they bombard us with papers, research papers on research papers that I'm able to read. And it's so being able to read stuff from Louise M. Burke, who is one of the best published nutrition researchers in the world. Like different stuff like that is amazing. But being able to combine that with the practical application like we were talking about. So, a lot of research papers, people either don't read them because they're really long or because they're filled with a bunch of scientific jargon that no one really wants to understand or understands, right? Or not necessarily doesn't want to understand, but like it's not instantaneous. Like right? And so being able to take that information that we have and conveying it in a way that's exciting and understanding, because we're excited about things, right? Like that's why we're doing what we're doing. We want other people to be excited about it too. Giving them a bunch of papers to read is not exciting. That's not exciting at all.
Yeah.
This podcast, for example, is an amazing way. I give you so much props because it's taking, like you said, that network and the different people that you've had on and your knowledge and conveying it in a way where people can listen to it and be entertained and also learn at the same time, which is amazing. So,
yeah, man. And I feel lucky to have this network. I feel lucky to have you on here, man. So I appreciate everybody supporting and coming on. It means a lot to me. So I appreciate you saying that.
No doubt. Get that live one going soon.
Yeah. Well, Craig, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know we've been chatting for a little bit and you're a busy man. But if anyone were to want to find you, maybe down the road when you get the max altitude stuff up and going, or just ask a question because he's a super knowledgeable guy, where would people be able to find you, whether it be like Instagram, website, whatever you got going?
Yeah. So like I said, I've taken a little bit of a break from max altitude to the pages as frequent as it was before. But my personal Instagram is just at CraigConley26. It's really basic and simple. My email is CraigConley26@gmail.com. I love these topics, but most importantly, I love working with people. And so being able to interact and talk with people is something I always look forward to doing. So if anyone has questions or anything like that, or just wants to talk or has something that I can learn, I'm always learning from different conversations I had, especially when someone comes with me for a question. They're like, yeah, have you ever thought about this, this, and this? Or what do you think about this? It forces me to think about the message I'm conveying and also taking in their ideas. It's the best learning experience.
Yeah. I like that outlook, man. Well, thank you all so much for listening to episode 24 of the Trainer Scoop. I really appreciate it once again. If you feel like you enjoyed the episode or if you learned anything, I would really appreciate that 5-star review or just a like if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube. Leave me that good review. Share the podcast with your friends. Check me out on Instagram. I'm plugging unlimited plugs here, Craig. I'm trying to get this whole thing to blow up.
You're doing well, man. You're doing well.
But thank you all once again for checking us out, and we will catch you in that next episode.
Sure.